Hey YouTube world, we are back again, same outfit as before. Remember, click the links below to subscribe as well. So this week on the podcast, we're going to be talking about potential trades with the trades going forward involving the running back core of the NFL. We could see a lot of running backs on the move this year, which would be a very fascinating story. But one of them that will not be on the move this year is Todd Gurley. And it's not because lack of effort. The Rams really want to get this contract off their books. And it's a really, really precarious situation that they found themselves in. Todd Gurley, at this stage of his career, is not really in a position where he can help the Rams any farther than he is right now. Todd Gurley's making $15 million over the next 4 seasons, which really hurts the Rams. Dishing out all these contracts has really bloated their salary in an attempt to close in on their championship window. They were not existentially flexible, just saying. They've progressed farther along, and now they find themselves in a tough situation with Goff, with Donald, with Gurley. They want to move Gurley. They can't move Gurley. They can't move Goff. They could move Aaron Donald if they have to. They may have to if Goff and Gurley can't be moved for anything, if their contracts are simply untradeable, or they would have to, take on another bad contract and dip assets, which doesn't usually happen in the NFL due to guaranteed contracts versus non-guaranteed contracts. You see it a lot in the NBA. In fact, the Chris Paul-Russell Westbrook trade was a perfect example of that. There were even more at the deadline. Kent Bazemore in the Dwayne Dedmon flip and all that. These things exist, but what we're looking at in the NFL is that because contracts are mostly guaranteed, there's not an incentive for a team to trade for Gurley unless they see significant value in Todd Gurley. I don't know what team right now, what running back needy team is going to look at Todd Gurley and say, we can revive the Todd Gurley that existed 2 or 3 years ago that helped win everyone a fantasy championship. Ezekiel Elliott's in a similar position. That's why the Cowboys need to capitalize this year while there's still a chance that they can move Ezekiel Elliott. We propose a trade on that where Zeke goes to Seattle in exchange for Rashad Penny, the first round pick this year for the Seahawks, and also another draft pick, and they take on the salary. The Cowboys have to eat a little bit of dead cap the way that the Steelers did with Antonio Brown. But as we go forward, the Cowboys need to have that flexibility, especially if they're going to move off the quarterbacks. Speaking of which, Dak Prescott. What is going to happen with him since it looks like the franchise tag deadline moving up this week? He's most likely to get that. That'll be for another discussion that we have on the podcast coming up once the franchise tag deadline progresses and Dak inevitably gets franchise tagged. But back to Gurley. The Rams are going to try and look around for a team that could acquire Todd Gurley, and they're going to be fresh out of luck here. So who are the potential teams that we're looking at that they could move in to make a Todd Gurley trade? Well, we're looking at potentially the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have great talent moving forward. They're running back needy. Josh Allen is in his progression. We mentioned the Seahawks before. The Seahawks not likely to make a move of such sorts. Tampa Bay, but I think Tampa Bay is going to have a plethora of options to be able to sign people with. The option I think is most likely is probably someone like a David Johnson, who gets probably bought out by Arizona at some point because they want to progress with Kenyon Drake, even though Kenyon Drake is also a restricted free agent, which means they'd have to pay Kenyon Drake money. That's a whole situation and a half. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they're planning to move Leonard Fournette, that makes a ton of sense that they would go for Gurley, but it also makes a lot of sense that they're not going to be competing. Therefore, Gurley would just be for ticket sales as they prep for the inevitable move to London. You can check out one of last week's episodes where we talked about the London Jaguars as well. So those are all possibilities. Also the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are more content with the strategy that actually wins, which is not paying the running back. We have to acknowledge that as well, that most Super Bowl champions don't pay their running backs, which is a whole nother situation. It makes a ton of sense. We were going into the offseason talking about Derrick Henry and where he would go, but now we look at it and Derrick Henry is like the most solidified person to not move off of their team. Whether that's good or bad, I mean, the Titans, I'm pretty confident, are making a mistake in paying Derrick Henry just based on all the substantial evidence that exists that shows don't pay the running back, don't pay the running back, don't pay the running back. Same thing with the Le'Veon Bell situation. All the substantial evidence built up is now coming back to bite the Jets after a year of relative obscurity, kind of wasted talent. I know they got to 7-9 at the end of the year, but the Jets really did underperform given their talent. I think next year may be a building block, maybe it won't, maybe they move off of Le'Veon Bell. We also proposed that trade where Le'Veon Bell goes to the Washington Redskins. But the Rams are going to be fresh out of luck on the Todd Gurley situation. It's just a bad contract. They're going to have to eat it and move forward with Gurley. And the issue for the Rams now is that because they made these contract decisions, they're going to be stuck fighting for the, I kind of love saying this, the 7th wild card position in the NFC for the rest of the Todd Gurley contract and the rest of this dynasty that they tried to push forward. But in the end, it's Jared Goff is not the quarterback that they really needed. Sean McVay is going to end up going out of Los Angeles without a championship, whenever that may be, a revolutionary ideology. People thought he was going to be the next Belichick in terms of offensive innovation. But he'll get another job somewhere else. That's obviously a real situation. Maybe he gets a contract extension with the Rams in 14 years. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But Sean McVay, wonder kid, he'll have more opportunities. Todd Gurley, he's going to get his money, but he's also going to be in a very toxic situation for the Rams and for everyone else within that organization.